Murder at Ocean View College. Chapter 3. Crystal Rides Along. Gripping Danny's hand tightly, Jade followed him and Captain Mitchell down the 6 flights of stairs. It seemed like a long time ago that she had entered the building to meet with Miss Quinn. Jade kept her eyes straight ahead, looking at the captain's back. She wondered what a real police investigation would be like, and she frowned as she realized that she and Danny were the ones who would have to answer the questions this time. Danny turned to look at her. He wasn't smiling, and she realized that she wasn't either. In criminal investigation classes, student police officers had to practice questioning witnesses. Jade had done this, and Danny had too, but today was the first time she might be a suspected criminal. She tried to calm herself down. Danny squeezed her hand. She imagined that he could read her thoughts. He knew she worried easily. She wondered if he was also worried about the possibility of going to jail. Of course, he had to know she was innocent. He looked at her again, and she tried to smile. As the captain opened the main door to the building, a blast of cold air hit them all in the face. Because Ocean View is on the California coast, the weather is often cold and foggy. Jade felt the cold blast and shivered. Danny dropped her hand and put his arm around her. She looked up at him and gave him a weak smile. He hugged her tighter. Just outside the main door, she caught sight of Crystal Jackson, 20 years old, another student police officer, the leader of their unit, and Jade's closest friend. Jade looked up at Crystal, who stood just over 6 feet tall, a full 10 inches taller than Jade. Crystal was also black and beautiful. Her smooth skin was the color of coffee with cream. Before deciding to study criminal justice at Ocean View College, Crystal had been a model for some department stores in the Los Angeles area. Sometimes Jade would get her to tell stories about the photo shoot location she went to, about the men she often got involved with, and the nice restaurants and nightclubs they liked to take her to. Jade was enchanted with Crystal's former life, and she sometimes wondered why Crystal had decided to make such a big career change. Why did she want to be a police officer anyway? It certainly wasn't glamorous. Jade and Danny moved up beside Captain Mitchell. Jade's face formed a weak smile when she stopped beside Crystal. It looked like she was waiting for them. Jade thought she should be quiet, so she only nodded her head at Crystal. Jade stood still, close to Danny, and listened as Crystal addressed the captain. "Good morning, Captain Mitchell. Police secretary told me that there's a situation here, a crime scene. I thought I might be able to help. Anything I can do?" Jade could see just a tiny smile as Crystal turned her head in Jade's direction. Jade began to relax. Good old dependable Crystal. "Everything is under control, Officer Jackson." He turned to Danny and Jade, then back to Crystal. "Officers Soto and Lee are going to ride downtown with me. We'll be back later." "Would you like me to ride along, Captain?" "I could help you with the report." Captain Mitchell removed his hat again and scratched his bald head. Everyone knew he hated writing reports. Well, you are the leader of their unit. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. It will give you a chance to witness a real police questioning. Yes, sir. Happy to help out. Crystal reached out, and Jade could feel a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Danny and Jade let out their breath at the same time. Jade was relieved to have Crystal come along, and she thought Danny looked relieved too. He knew how close the two young women were. Danny held Jade's hand and helped her into the back of the campus police car, which was painted on the side with the gold and white Ocean View College logo. Crystal sat in the front with Captain Mitchell. As Jade and Danny settled in the back seat, Jade realized immediately that this was where suspected criminals always sat. She saw Danny start to crack his knuckles. She put her hands over his to stop him. She whispered, "You know that's a disgusting habit, Danny. You only do it when you're nervous." "Well, you're right about that. I'm nervous. How can we possibly prove that we had nothing to do with Miss Quinn's murder? And I'm pretty sure they don't have any other suspects right now." Jade's eyes darkened in a frown, and she fell silent again. At the city police station, Jade and Danny followed Crystal and Captain Mitchell, who were following a clerk from the city police department. They all went into a small room with a long wooden table. At the head of the table was the chief of police for the city of Ocean View. Captain Mitchell took a seat next to the chief, and Crystal sat between him and Jade. The walls of the room were gray, without any pictures or posters. The light was dim, and the temperature in the room was cool. The city police chief was a large, older man with a full head of white hair. He looked at the three students with a stone face and nodded toward Captain Mitchell, then spoke to open the meeting. "Now, this is an informal interrogation. You are not being charged with any crime. We just want to hear what happened." He looked at Crystal. All eyes turned on Crystal. She smiled and spoke calmly. "Chief, these two student officers discovered a body on campus at Ocean View College this morning." She waved her hand toward Jade and Danny. "They are the ones who need to tell the story." Then the chief looked at Danny, indicating that he should speak. Everybody turned and looked at Danny. Then Danny spoke. "Actually, Chief, Jade, Officer Lee, is the one who discovered the body. She should give you the story." He turned his head to smile at Jade. The other three people in the room turned like robots and looked at Jade. The chief's face was blank. He nodded to Jade, indicating that she should tell what she had seen and heard. She cleared her throat and began talking in a quiet voice. But as she got into telling the story, she relaxed and grew more confident. Danny helped when his turn came, and Captain Mitchell added what he knew about the crime scene and the story the students had told. The chief of police tape recorded the entire procedure. Then he dismissed them and told Jade and Danny that they were not to take any long trips for a while. They needed to be available for further questioning. Then he smiled. Jade wished that he had smiled at the beginning of the interview. She would have felt better. On the ride back to campus, there was silence in the car. Jade was thinking about the murder and wondering who could have done such a horrible thing.